True Warrior Football. True Warrior Football. True Warrior Football.
You are listening to True Warrior Football Podcast with your host, Corey Kid Smith.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's been such a long time that I've been able to really get out in front of you guys and talk. But I'm not going to talk about Warren Central football, even though I'm got my background up and everything like that. What has been heavy in the news lately, college sports, college football in particular, and that is the new Final Four college football playoff. You have Michigan versus Alabama, number 1 Michigan, number 4 Alabama. Then you have on the other side, number 2 Washington versus number 3 Texas. A really, really great set of teams that are going to compete for the title of being crowned national champion. And me as a Michigan fan, I'm happy to see us make the playoff once again. The fact that we are the only team that's made it 3 straight years is impressive. That's a huge accomplishment to be that program. But the huge thing here is the team that didn't make it. And I feel like everybody's had their chances to speak on this so far, and I'm busy throughout the week. I haven't had the chance to really sit down and collect my thoughts and say what I want to say, what I feel like needs to be said, compared to others out there that do sports shows and whatnot. Florida State, absolutely robbed of being amongst the top 4 teams. And for various reasons, I'm going to go into it. What we've seen right here is unprecedented. A team has had a great season all year long. All year long they've had a great season, and what those players on that team truthfully earned the right for, was stolen from them by people that, for whatever reason, moved the goalposts to fit their agenda for what they wanted to see. And that is terrible. And we literally just saw a group of young men. I don't want to call them kids because they're all 18 and older. If they were to commit a crime, they're going to be charged as adults. So these are all young men, 18 to 22, 23 years old. Maybe a few of them are older than that. But they were all robbed of an opportunity to go out there. And we collectively as a sports world had never seen anything like that, I believe. So I want to get into that. And a lot of shows have talked about it. The show I saw this week, Pat McAfee's show, was in New York this week, and he had Stephen A. and Mike Greenberg on. As a matter of fact, I'm just show this clip here.
You had your star quarterback go down. You didn't look good against Florida. You didn't look good against Louisville. Mm-hmm. Style points matter. Why do style points matter? We saw a national championship game where TCU got blown out 65-7. Yep. You're the college football committee. You don't want that again. You don't want that in back-to-back years. Ew. You know what? If Jordan Travis hadn't gotten hurt, that's unfortunate. But Kirk Herbstreit highlighted this for us yesterday all over social media.
Well, we know how hurt.
He's talking about the criteria is there. Player availability as well. If somebody gets hurt, unfortunately, that factors into their decision. So we got that going on. And here's my whole thing as well.
See, this is my first big issue with what's going on with what happened with Florida State. My first big issue is the whole, TCU had this happen to them last year, so the committee saw it and said, you know what, we don't want to see that happen again. Well, there's so much wrong with that, so much absolutely wrong with that. One, TCU earned their way into the college football playoff last year. They went 12-0 in the regular season, lost the Big 12 championship to Kansas State, but they still were ranked highly enough that even with that loss, they were able to get into the college football playoff. Then they went and won one of the best college football playoff games in some time in a shootout with my Michigan Wolverines, like 56-59 or something like that, some high-scoring game. I forget the score of it. Trust me, I try to forget that game. Michigan should have won that game. But they went on and won that game to advance to the national championship game against Georgia. And for people to look at TCU and say, oh my God, they were such a terrible team. They were not a terrible team at any point last year. This year, they had their struggles because they lost a lot of guys. But last year, oh my God, no, that was a very, very talented team. They had skilled players up and down that roster that went on and are currently playing in the NFL right now. Their quarterback, Max Duggan, Heisman Trophy finalist, okay? I believe he was runner-up to Caleb Williams last year. Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Just go back and look at his highlights. Look at this. The man was an absolute baller all season long. Put up all kinds of crazy numbers. And to say that because their poor performance in a national championship, which was by all accounts their worst game of the season last year, that is the reason why Florida State this year shouldn't be allowed in the playoff. That's garbage. That's one of the worst sports takes I've ever heard. You're punishing a separate team for another team's errors from a previous season. That's absolutely terrible. And the fact that is continually used, not just by Stephen A here in this clip, but I've seen that many, many times. Oh, the committee didn't want to put Florida State in because of what happened to TCU. What? Are you kidding me? Don't act like TCU's blowout last year was the first blowout we've had in the college football playoff. Don't act like that's the first blowout we've ever had in a national championship game. No. We've had blowouts and large, it happens. It's college football. Some teams don't match up. Okay? 2016, Ohio State makes it to the playoff. They get smoked by Clemson, 31-0. Nobody ever says, oh, well, we're not going to put Ohio State back in the playoff. No. Washington got smoked. They're back in it this year. They got smoked like 6, 7 years ago. They're back in it. It's a different year, different team. You cannot punish a group of players, these young men that worked hard all season long, for the errors of other teams. Like I said, college football has had blowouts for decades in the national championship game. I want to say Miami won their national championship game in 2001 by like 40 or 50 points. Ohio State won their national championship game over Oregon by 20 points. It happens. Like, I just really, really hate that. That has been such a driving factor in the reasoning behind all this. And that's just terrible. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind that is one of the reasons why. And Richard Sherman right here had something to say about it as well that I 100% agree about.
Team at any given time can win the game or have a chance at a national title, and it doesn't matter as long as you go out there and compete. Now it's become politics. It's nothing but politics because Florida State, a Power 5 team from a Power 5 conference, a decent Power 5 conference in the ACC. I mean, Clemson has been in the playoffs a bunch of times, went undefeated. and the only knock against them is their starting quarterback got hurt. And so that's the reason you don't put him in the national champ. You don't put him in the college playoff. I don't get that, because a few years ago, Cordell Jones of Ohio State started his first game, Skip, ever in the Big Ten championship. He won that game.
He was good.
They went on to play Alabama in the first round of the college football playoffs. His second start, third string quarterback. He was the third string quarterback that year to start the year. And they beat Bama and went on to win the national championship. And that's a beautiful story. It's a great story. It was great for college football. It's great for everybody, because you see that, hey, a team that is determined enough, that is together enough, even if you got your third string quarterback, you're inspired. It's an inspiring story. But instead, we get a fat cat, a front runner, a SEC team, because, the SEC's strong and the SEC's always strong. The SEC is 7-9 against non-conference opponents this year. 7-9. They're not some powerhouse conference right now. They're not some, hey, we beat everybody and we're the class above everybody else. They're not that right now. So a team shouldn't go from 8th in the nation to 4th and jump over an undefeated team with nothing else other than, we're Alabama. Like, it's ugly. It doesn't make you want to watch the game. It makes you think, man, who paid somebody? Like, who's pulling the strings here? You just want Alabama in it no matter what they do, no matter if they lose games, the wins and losses don't count anymore. You just got to be Alabama. Win enough games, and if you're Alabama, you'll make it. Florida State, we're sorry, your quarterback got hurt. You went undefeated, but it doesn't matter. Because it's not a real national championship then. It's not a real tournament. If all you got to do, hey, it doesn't matter if you played well during the regular season, doesn't matter if you went undefeated. We think you're playing well at the end. We think this team who was ranked 8th in the country a week ago is now a top 4 team because they won the SEC championship. And now the number 1 team is what, the number 6 team? Like I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay, Richard, back to what you brought up about Cardell Jones. That year that Ohio State got on that roll in that run, Cardell played first against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game.
Big Ten championship.
And Cardell was really good in that game, and the committee could see, he can really play because he can really play. I'm not sure there wasn't some bump. I think it got better at quarterback with him. And all of a sudden, with Zeke running for 200 plus, you could just see them coming. So there was no controversy about letting Ohio State in with Cardell Jones because it looked like he might have improved the position. That's how well he played in the Big Ten championship game. So there was no controversy there. And yet, to Keyshawn's point, if you look at Florida State, what case could you make? Do you think Florida State, to Keyshawn's point, do you think Florida State could beat any of these teams? They couldn't right now.
I'm not sure because they won't have the opportunity. I don't know.
Not
because
right
college
now,
football,
Richard.
Crazier things have happened,
not right now.
but you don't get the opportunity to see it because you give it to a team that's a powerhouse, a perennial, that doesn't necessarily deserve it. You could say, hey, they're one of the best teams playing right now. If they were one of the best teams and they didn't lose to Texas, then they wouldn't have anything to argue against them. They'd be in, no question. But they did lose.
But that was week 2, not at the end of the season. That was week 2.
I don't care when it was. Is it the full body work? If it ain't the full body work, let's stop playing the games and just put Bama in the SEC in every year and don't even worry about playing the games. Just pick the bowl games early.
So Richard,
the only person I know that didn't think Bama, if they beat Georgia, was getting in. You're the only person I know.
I mean, I'm just tired. I'm tired of them putting teams in that didn't deserve. You gonna go from 8 to 4? I don't care who you beat.
Okay, so Richard, you wanted no SEC teams in the Final Four.
I wanted the teams that deserve it. I mean, Georgia could have potentially stayed, but you're not going to put a non-champion in there unless it's Bama. They put Bama in there as a non-champion before. So as a non-SEC champion, and they won it that year. I think they beat LSU. But I'm just saying, man, at the end of the day, if you're going to not put an undefeated Florida State in there, there's really no point of playing this game and call it a real national championship because it's not legitimate. If you're not basing on full body of work, then don't call it a national championship. It's a selected champion.
So it's
absolutely, Rich. We did not give these young men the opportunity to prove to themselves, to prove to everyone that they belong. that was stolen from them. Absolutely stolen from them. They were robbed of the opportunity to show, hey, just how great they were. Defensively, they probably do have one of the, if not the top defense, probably top 3 defense behind. It's Florida State this year, Michigan, probably Georgia as well, and Georgia's not in it. It's just, I've never seen anything like this, and it makes me so infuriatingly mad that these players weren't getting, because I can tell you one thing. The Jordan Travis injury was catastrophic for this team. Jordan Travis, honestly, the way that he's been talked about for Florida State, he should be a Heisman Trophy, not just finalist, he should be the Heisman Trophy winner. The way that they put so much weight on him not being with the team for the rest of the season, for missing the games that he's missed, the amount of importance that they've put on Jordan Travis alone shows like this man should, basically he was a Heisman Trophy winner. He's the best player in college football, which he was one of the top 5. I think he won ACC Player of the Year. In the games where he played, balled out against LSU in the opener. Outshined Jaden Daniels, who is a Heisman Trophy finalist too, probably the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Outshined him. Okay? Clemson, on the road, came back, made big plays, won that game. The man delivered time and time again all season until he got hurt. I can't remember who he got hurt against. It was, man, I don't even want to say the team because I know I'm going to get it wrong. But, like, it was probably one of those games where, you look at it on the schedule and, you say for yourself, you know what, we're not going to play this game because we need you for next week and we need you to be healthy. But you know what? You never know with sports and never know in college football. You can't really cheat the game, because you cheat the game like that, then bad things happen. So he could have gotten hurt in that game. He could have gotten hurt the week after that against Florida. He could have gotten hurt last week in the ACC championship game against Louisville. You just never know. And that's the thing with sports. You just never know what can happen. And that's another thing. You just never know what can happen. You put the team in there that earned it. You put the team in there that earned the right to be there with everybody else. You say, oh, well, they didn't blow them out. And another thing, this is, once again, right here. Style points has always been something that is like, I hate what they say, style points. Oh, because this team won by 30 and this team won by 3, or this team needed a last second touchdown to advance, and this team been blowing their teams out all year. Look, we've seen enough college football seasons over the last 30 years where a team can be winning games by 40 or 50 points, and in the end it absolutely means nothing because they don't win anything. You've seen that time and time again. Style points, I absolutely hate style points just because Alabama beat some Vanderbilt or South Carolina or somebody like that wasn't ranked. They won that game by 40 points. That's a better win than a ranked, let's say Michigan went this year, beat Penn State at Penn State. Penn State's a ranked team. They won that game by a touchdown. Oh, Michigan's not that good. They only won by a touchdown. Alabama's blowing teams out by 30 or 40 points. What? Oh, it's the SEC. It's this, is that. It's football is bigger and better. Guys, look, the SEC has been terrible outside of Alabama and Georgia. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. You saw Miami gunsmoke Texas A&M. Okay? Gunsmoke Texas A&M. Clemson, once again, beats up on South Carolina. Florida State, with their backup quarterback, went into the swamp and beat Florida. With their backup quarterback. Okay? And I already talked about what Florida State did to LSU at the beginning of the season. Like, I hate seeing people, get robbed of their of things that they rightfully deserve. I hate that so much. I hate that in everything in life, not just sports. But if a person works so hard to win an award that they've worked hard for, and it's passed over for them for somebody else that's, sweet talking, it's some kind of secret agenda behind the scenes, I hate that with a passion. I hate that with an absolute passion. And for them to say, oh, okay, well, Alabama, you know what? Alabama had a great win over Georgia. Put them in. Maybe Texas was the one that didn't deserve it. Maybe so. Maybe all the ire should be on Texas. But you know what? The fact, once again, I've had my problems with the college football playoff ever since it was 4 teams. And you've seen throughout the years the criteria. People say, oh, the criteria is this, it is that. And they've changed and moved the criteria to fit their agenda however they please from week to week, from season to season. Okay? They've always done that. And I've hated it since the very beginning. You go back to the first year of college football playoffs. Florida State, defending national champion, had went 13-0 the previous season. No, 14-0 the previous season. Won the national championship, beat Auburn in a great game. Jameis Winston, Heisman Trophy winner, National Player of the Year. That was a truly tremendous team. One of probably the 4 or 5 best teams I've ever seen, along with 2013 Florida State, 2001 Miami. You talk 2019 LSU, 2005 Texas, and probably take your pick of between Georgia last year maybe, or one of Nick Saban's better Alabama teams. But that was truly one of the great college football teams that I've seen in my lifetime. And the next year, week to week, there was all kind of controversy and drama behind them. Oh, Jameis Winston did this, the scandal and all that. Every week, it was always something else. And every week, Florida State continued to win. And you would see, like Florida State, it came to season number 1, and then eventually as more drama came in, they weren't winning like everybody wanted them to or thought that they should be winning. It kept dropping, and then all of a sudden it gets to the playoff. They're undefeated going into the to the college football playoff, 13-0. They're the 4th ranked team in the country. They have to go all the way across the country to face Oregon in the Rose Bowl. A de facto home game for Oregon. And we saw what kind of debacle that ended up being for Florida State. That game, things like that bother me. But it's been things like that there's been a clear agenda out for Florida State since that season, since 2013, 2014, ever since. And it's been so much going on with that program that for them to finally get back to this point, to finally get back into where they are deserving of being a national champion or being in the hunt for the national championship, have it stolen from them, I hate it. Because if this were any other program loses their quarterback, any other key player, it's like, oh, you know what? That team was still good enough. We're going to put them in and give them their shot. No, not Florida State. Because if this was, another key example, Ohio State, 2014. Ohio State that year, Braxton Miller injured, JT Barrett comes in, guides them to a 10-1 season. 10-1, 11-1, something like that. They lost to Virginia Tech, like the second game of the season. Then they ran the table. JT Barrett gets hurt against Michigan. So, 11-1. Big Ten championship game. Cardell Jones, who is basically the third string quarterback, comes in. Him and Ezekiel Elliott have a monster game against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. They get into the playoff. They beat Alabama. They beat Oregon the next game, win the national championship. Those guys were given the opportunity to do something that nobody expected him to do. Backup quarterback leads his team to a national championship. 3 straight great games he's allowed to play to win a championship. Did we have that with Florida State? No. Now people say, oh, well, you know, they just didn't look good. Well, yeah, okay, you have backup quarterbacks playing. First game a guy's ever had to really play is on the road at the Swamp, one of the toughest places to play in all of college football. Okay, yeah, that and it's a rivalry game at night. Yeah, let's see how many players could do well in that environment. Not very many, but yet he still put them in a position to win that game. Okay, he can't play the next week, so what do you have? You have, I believe, a true freshman play last week, once again on the road, ACC championship game against a very good and ranked Louisville Cardinals team. And to people to doubt, oh, they could barely beat Louisville. They did this, they did that. You guys weren't saying that when Louisville gunsmoked Notre Dame earlier in the season. When Louisville won 3 or 4 games by 30 or 40 points. Louisville was, what, 10-1 coming into that game? Or 12? They like lost maybe 1 game, 2 games. They lost to Pittsburgh and UK. So 10-2. One of the top 15, top 20 teams in the country. Because, oh, they didn't look so good against Louisville. They didn't do that. They didn't do... Look. Florida State has played some of the best defensive football I've seen this year outside of Michigan. Their defensive line did so many great things against Louisville. I'm watching the Big Ten Championship game the other night. Big Ten Championship game was on one TV. The ACC Championship game was on the other. And I'm watching back and forth. I'm seeing plays from Florida State's defensive linemen, blow-up plays. Louisville had no answer. They couldn't block these guys. They were all over the field. Louisville gets down into the red zone off of, I think it was I can't forget. They got it in the red zone somehow. I said to my buddy I was watching the game with, Jason Shanzel, and I said, Shanzel, man, watch this. I guarantee you, Florida State is going to force a turnover here. And not only that, they forced a turnover on 2 straight plays. One of them got called an incomplete. The other one was an interception. It was 2 interceptions. One interception was called an incomplete pass. The next one was for sure interception. Okay? Those guys play great defense over there. The standard I've always lived by when it comes to football, and this will be addressed at football at all levels, defense wins championships. And you know what? Not all the time is it just, having a great defense all game, all season long. You only allow, less than 10 points, 3 points a game, whatever. That's great. But sometimes what you really need is just need to stop. You got to stop them here. You can't let them get, it's stuff like that to where a defense makes plays necessary for their team to win. And that's what Florida State was doing. And once again, for that team to be robbed of an opportunity to be in a spot to where they rightfully deserved to be amongst the top 4 teams in the country after their schedule is ridiculous. Because like I said, once again, if Alabama didn't have a quarterback and they still went and beat Georgia, they wouldn't be sitting on the outside looking in. Same with Georgia. If this was Clemson, oh no, Dabo, no. We're going to put them in. We're going to put them in. This is the only team in the country that this would happen to. They wouldn't do this for anybody else. Well, maybe Washington. If Michael Penix had gotten hurt and was out, they would do it to Washington too. They would definitely do it to Washington too. Because right now, nobody cares about the Pac-12. Sad but true. Nobody cares. So they would definitely do it to Washington too. Texas, oh my God, no, they would be pulling for Arch Manning to come into that game. the third string quarterback to come in and lead Texas in the playoff. That's what they would do. That's exactly what they would do. But Florida State, no. You guys don't look good. Your backup quarterbacks don't, forget it's their first real start, first real college football games. Forget it. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see that. We gotta have an SEC team. We gotta have what we want. Not who's deserving. And that's what I truly, truly hate. And this last point here, I need to address this last comment from Stephen A. here.
We don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah, this is the thing you do.
Primetime Deion Sanders, he wanted that job years ago. If he would have coached and they had a 12-0 record, they'd be in the playoffs.
Oh, you're saying the buzz, the juice.
The buzz, the juice.
God.
It matters. It matters in college football. I didn't say it's fair. I didn't say it's right, but
He said that. If Deion Sanders had been the coach of Florida State like he wanted to be years ago, this would not happen. And a part of me thinks two things. One, that's ridiculous. But two, I also believe it because that's how ridiculous this committee is. Absolutely ridiculous. One, when Deion did when Deion was becoming a college coach, when he got the Jackson State job, he had kind of hinted he had wanted to compete against the big boys and he wanted to be there at that level with Florida State, which I'm fine with that. You want to feel like you're a good coach, you're competent to coach at that level, that's fine, prove yourself. So when he's at Jackson State, he had his success for his last season there, but I kept wanting to see more from Jackson State. We see them always compete against other HBCU teams, other FCS schools at that level. I always want to see Jackson State compete against the cream of the crop at that level, okay? Because I've seen what those teams at that level can do. I've seen with my own eyes how good a team like North Dakota State, like South Dakota State, like James Madison at the time before they moved up, like Eastern Washington, like Montana State, or Texas Southern, Sacramento State. All these teams, not Texas Southern, Texas State. All these teams that were FCU powerhouses that have competed at a high level, at that same level that Jackson State was at. I want to see how well his teams would compete against those guys. And I never saw it. And it was like I asked friends of mine that play HBCU football, and they said it's more lucrative for HBCU teams to play in, was it the Holiday Bowl or something like that? The Celebration Bowl, whatever, that's played at the end of the year in New Orleans at the Superdome. It's more lucrative for them to play there for money than for them to go out there and actually compete for the chance to win a national championship. I can't speak on that because I've not been really seen that. I just think that's sad. I think those guys last year, those guys deserve opportunity to be in the FCS playoffs as well. I mean, they were 12-0. They would have been a very highly ranked team if they went. I believe there was an HBCU team that was in the playoff last year. I'll have to check and see. There may have been one this year. I don't remember all the teams that made it. I'm sorry. It's 2 weeks into the playoff, but regardless, I wanted to see Deion Sanders play or coach a team that was competing against the best. Now, would he have done that with Florida State? Possible. But what I've seen from him at Colorado this year has been, it's leaving me not thinking things would have went well. As a matter of fact, I have to stop what I'm doing and congratulate Coach Sanders, Coach Prime, for the accolade, Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. Now, a lot of people think this is ridiculous, and in many ways, it probably is. When you think about it, Sportsman of the Year. Who else would have won it? Who else would have commanded something like this? More deserving. And I think about, he's been on the job at Colorado for a year. And he's really I don't want to say taken over college football by storm, but he's brought more eyes to it than people want to realize and acknowledge. That is for sure. Like, the amount of people, the amount of celebrities that have never thought about going to Boulder, maybe for some of the other legal activities, hint, hint, that are going on in the state of Colorado, or going skiing in the wintertime, stuff like that. But for going to Boulder, Colorado to see a football game, to see the Buffaloes play, a team that went 1-10 the previous year, that really, better part of 20, 30 years since the 90s, hasn't been very good. No, nobody's going to Colorado for that. But you had a ton of celebrities. I mean, look at this. Fox Sports, ESPN, College Game Day. Everybody was there. Everybody was there to see Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and the Buffaloes. And it was really something. Skip Bayless tweeted this right here. Is Deion Sanders Black America's coach? And I think a lot of people were outraged by it originally, but I thought more about it. I was like, man, for people that aren't college football fans, yeah, I definitely believe that. Because for people that are college football fans, you already have your team, you already have your program that you support, but in the era that we've been in since 2020, pro-Black America it's grown a lot into a lot of things that are a lot of sports figures that are Black have gained a lot more prominent, a lot more support. You see, what is my girl's name? Issa Rae from Insecure, actress Issa Rae. Remember, she said at the Oscars one time she's rooting for everybody Black.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody Black. I am.
Which is fine. But that's a lot of sentiment that a lot of people that were not college football fans before, African American college football fans before, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm seeing Deion Sanders doing this. And really, he got out to a great start. The win at TCU was a huge win. I think it's probably one in the early season, probably the best football game of the season. Their overtime win against Colorado State at the time was one of the biggest string games in all of college football at the time. It may end up being top 10 at the end of the season. And so, like, he was talking to town. Like I said, ESPN, College Game Day was there. Fox Sports, early game kickoff on Saturday was there. Everybody was there. Everybody flocked there. Celebrities, Key Glock, Cameron, Shannon Sharp and all those guys. Everybody was at their games. Then the wheels fell out. The Oregon game happened, and I knew they weren't going to win that game. I was just hoping they would keep it respectable. I was hoping they would get maybe a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Did not happen. USC week, they were down big, ended up fighting back, lost. So it was that game. I was like, okay, maybe they can do something. So I'm thinking, okay, there are 3 wins, 3-2. Maybe they can get to 7, 8 wins. I look at their schedule like, okay, they got a couple games here they can win. The Pac-12 isn't that tough. They could compete against both Arizona teams. They could beat Stanford. I think they could probably beat Cal. They have some. If they can win those games, they could be in good shape. Boy, was I wrong. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? It was when they blew the lead against Stanford and lost that game. I was like, okay, this team is in trouble. And that was when I really started to notice all the, people that flocked to Colorado at the beginning. The amount of people that stopped talking about Colorado. That's when I noticed it. Or the people that stopped, then the people that started, or the people that kept going. Like my former employer right here. Okay, look at all this. This is going back 2 months. 2 months at least, maybe more, that I see. I didn't go back and get everything. But this is ridiculous here, okay? This is a man that outside of Ball State football and maybe he followed a big game every now and then. He's not a college football fan. If it's not NFL, he really doesn't care. He been following sports all. If it's not a trending topic, it's not the NFL, he doesn't care. NBA, he care less, unless he's talking about LeBron. But it's ridiculous. Some people like him have gone crazy about criticizing Deion. And most of it is right there, but a lot of it is just for clicks. It's just all for, ooh, this is the new hotness. I'm going to drive that, and I'm going to drive it, and I'm going to drive it. I want to get more eyes on me. I want to get more views on me. Before Deion Sanders came to Colorado, he never talked about him. He never talked about the program. Maybe talked about him during the Brittany Renner thing at Jackson State, but that was small. That's minor. To do all that, to devote so many shows to Deion Sanders and Coach Prime, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But once again, like I said, who else? Sportsman of the Year. Who else drove so many eyes to the program? Who else drove so many eyes to Colorado? Who else drove so many eyes anywhere? I can't think of anybody else. Nobody big, nobody in the golf world. Tiger Woods didn't do much. They're not going to give it to LeBron, even though they probably want to. Nobody else has done in the sports world has done what Deion Sanders has done in the last year. So congrats to him. Congrats to him. Because, I want to see a black man do well. I truly do want to see a black man do well. But I don't want to see a black man get torn down in a way that he has been torn down or they've attempted to tear him down. So I hope that this offseason, he is better at coaching himself. He is better at coaching his team. He is better at doing a lot of things that kept his team from being successful and kept him from being successful. Because, they won 4 wins. That's 3 more wins than last year. Yeah, okay, that's great. But when you have 3 or 4 games that you could have won, you should have won, but you didn't, then you have to look at it, okay, well, why didn't they win those games? Why aren't they going to a bowl game? Why did their season go from being ranked 3-0, top 20, to being, bottom 300? What happened? That's something I would like to see change and would like to see growth amongst Coach Prime and the Colorado program. Because like I said, they have tremendous talent. But what they did this year it can't be done. It can't be that. That has to change. That absolutely has to change. Or he'll never get the opportunity to coach at a program like Florida State ever. Because if he's not successful here, then he's not going to fall upward. That only happens for some coaches. It never happens. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it, that never happens for black coaches. You can't fail upwards. Never. Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. Tyrone Willingham never had another high-paying, high successful coaching job like he had at Notre Dame. Never happened. Never happened. You could be a coordinator. You could be a great coordinator for years and years and years. It'll be a hard, hard time for you to get another great head coaching job again at a prominent position. You can probably go to SES school, go to a MAC school, go to a Mountain West school probably, and try some things out there. Maybe go to the West Coast, find some places. But as far as being Power 5, coaching the Big Ten, maybe. Indiana will probably hire you. But no. You want to be in the ACC, the SEC, Big 12. You want to coach amongst those guys. You want to do some of the things that they're doing. You're not going to be around very long going 4-8 at Colorado when you had all the hype around you. You have your show getting ready to come out in a week. Maybe it's out now. It's going to chronicle the whole season. And everybody's going to see what happened. Everybody's going to see what happened. So you're going to have to really change some things if you want to get to the next level, or maybe you want to turn Colorado into the next level. Like you are going to the Big 12 next year. That schedule is only going to get tougher. Okay, you don't have Texas and Oklahoma, but you will have Utah, you will have Oklahoma State, Kansas, Texas Tech, Houston. I mean, look, you struggle with some programs that are getting left behind. Okay, I can tell you right now, you think you're going to roll into Kansas and get an easy win. Hey, they got wins over Texas and Oklahoma within the last 3 years, home and away. They will embarrass you if you aren't ready. Same with Kansas State. Same with a lot of these coaches that have been coaches for years and years and years. And that's another thing I think a lot of people don't like Coach Prime, because I feel like he cut the line. He didn't cut his teeth coaching at the lower. He wasn't a grad assistant. He wasn't some, assistant coach, then coordinator, then a head coach at a lower program. No, he went straight to a head coach at a lower program, then jumped. It had all this hype surrounding him. So I think a lot of the animosity, you saw what Dan Lanning said against them, head coach of Oregon, what he said against them earlier in the year, playing for clicks and stuff like that. Coaches see that stuff, man. Coaches see that stuff. They see that on the recruiting trail. They see how they're treated compared to him. So yeah, they see that stuff. He said, you know what? We're gonna schedule him. We're gonna circle down the calendar, and we're gonna come back to it when it's time for the game. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the college football playoff. The whole Deion Sanders, ESPN, Fox Sports, Sports Illustrated Man of the Year thing. It's college football in general is such a great sport. Nothing's like it. College football to me is one of the best things out there. College sports in general. I love college basketball as well. But college football is just so special. And like, back to Florida State, it just pains me and disgusts me to see these young men robbed of such an opportunity. But once again, next year it goes to 12 teams. So we'll have the Power 5 conference winners, ACC, Big Ten, SEC, Pac-12, and the Big 12. Then you'll have the at-large bids. So then we'll really get to see what we can say is a true playoff. Not what we've been seeing for the last decade, where it's been an invitational. Oh, because you won this, we don't respect your conference. We're going to put you down lower. But these guys right here, oh man, we love them. They come from SEC. Oh yeah, come right on in. Come right on in. As for Florida State, they faced off against Georgia in their bowl game. What I would love to see happen what I would love to see happen is they win the game. They beat Georgia, okay? Win the game. And then walk off and claim themselves national champions. That's what I would love to see. And people are like, oh, well, they wouldn't do that. Okay, well, you know what? They just might. Okay? UCF claimed the national championship. I think it was like 2016, 2017. All I think it takes is one media outlet that the NCAA recognizes to say, hey, this is our national champion. And guess what? The NCAA recognized UCF as being the national champion that year. They have an official banner. They have a trophy. Ain't never coming down. So I hope Florida State gets the opportunity to do that and goes off laughing as the real winners of the whole situation, regardless of what happens in the college football playoff. That's what I hope happens. So yeah, no, it's a long video, but I appreciate everybody tuning in, watching. I look forward to getting out more videos here with it before the year is up. Got a lot more planned. But hey, stay tuned. God bless. I'm your host, Corey the Kid Smith. Enjoy your weekend, folks. Oh, go Navy, beat Army.